Welcome everyone to another episode of 30 Minutes with a Modern Mystic. And I'm Sascha. This is Michael, our modern mystic from Australia. And today our topic is karma. What is it, Michael?
What is it? Well, let's say if you were up in an aeroplane at about 20,000 feet and you fell out and landed on Uluru, which is right behind me in the picture, that would be a pretty heavy karma. And yet, to be serious, I know a man who did. He jumped out of an airplane, his parachute failed to open. He fell about, I think he was at 12,000 feet. He fell, landed in a lot of trees, was broken up so severely. He lived. They took him out of, he came out of hospital after about a year. I knew him, his name was Peter. And he recovered and he got on a motorbike about 6 months after he came out of hospital, hurtling along a country lane, hit a tree and was killed outright. And so you could sort of say that there was some karma in his life and he couldn't really avoid it. I mean, you'd think falling out, having no air, your parachute not open, would deal with it. And yet 18 months later, he was dead. You could see that in a way as unavoidable karma.
Would you say that it's somehow like cause and effect on an energetic level?
I don't know, because you see, I don't think karma has to be. Karma is based in, obviously, cause and effect. And cause and effect is living in a way where you're not in the moment. If you're completely in the moment, cause and effect is in the moment with you.
Now, can I just make a quick note? Can I just make a quick comment there? Because something that I have noticed over the years, the deeper I went into, let's say, on my spiritual path, the more instantaneous my karma or cause and effect seemed to come.
That's exactly where I was going.
Okay.
The further you grow in consciousness, the more instantaneous your karma is. You go back a couple of 100 years ago, and I often use it, you're laying tiles on a cottage roof and you leave one behind, and then 40 years later in your next incarnation, you're walking along and a tile comes sliding off the cottage roof, hits you there and kills you. The karma was you should have cleaned the tiles off when you left them there. And so now there's no doubt, when I was a boy, karma was slow. Cause and effect was slower. Cause and effect is definitely speeding up.
Is that because of the rise of energy?
The resonance of life is lifting and getting faster. Okay. The frequency is getting faster. I mean, Carolyn and I were contemplating earlier this morning that when she married me, and she was 59 and I was 70, she said, I want 30 good years. And I said, you'll have them. And I said, do you realize you're halfway through those 30 good years with me? And, as you will be in April. And she said, it's incredible. I said, didn't we get married 15 months ago? And she said, yes, 15 months ago. And so the appearance is that time is going faster. If you sat and watched the clock, it's going exactly the same speed, but the intensity of the movement in the moment, it is intensifying. The frequency is higher and finer, and so the brain translates this as time appears to be going faster. And I think as you get older, because life may be somehow, I think, if you're sick and elderly, I think life might drag. But if you're vital and alive and healthy, and you're an elder, then life seems to whip by because there's so much to do and ever-increasing number of things to do. And so sometimes karma is reflected in the garden. 2 nights ago, a tree fell over in my garden. And it fell in such a way but it took itself out of the garden into bushland behind it. It didn't go across my fence. It even scraped down the side of a beautiful pandanus. And so it virtually did absolutely no damage. Now, 2 days before that, I said to somebody, you see up the top of that tree, that great big green clump is a plant called a red dragon fruit. And I foolishly set it at the base of the tree. And I said to it jokingly about 6 or 8 years ago, let me know when you reach the top. Well, it reached the top. So 2 days ago, this is a epiphyllum for those who want to know the details, but it has a lovely big fruit. You know dragon fruit in Europe?
Yeah, sure.
Beautiful. And so I said, there's a lot of dragon fruit up there, but the trouble is I can't get them. It's, you know, it's about 20 meters above my head. Well, it's not now. It's all level on the ground and I can walk round it all. So is that karma that the tree decided, okay, I'll give you your wish. In fact, of course, the weight was so heavy and it grew toward the sun, and so it pulled it over, but in exactly the direction, the only direction it could fall and not do any damage to anything. Apart from the fact now, if I keep an eye on it, I should be able to get a lot of red dragon fruit.
If you had to...
So that was good karma.
Yeah.
It did no harm.
If you had to define karma, what would you say?
I'd say it's karma without any.
Seriously.
Yeah, much, really serious. I find that the more I live in the moment, we just said this, the more I live in the moment, the less karmic things happen.
But what is karma, like, as in terms of a definition? How would you describe karma?
Well, I mean, we've got to come back to cause and effect. We sow the cause and the effect takes place. And generally, there's quite a big time lag. And so we don't recognize the cause. And so we stay in that process. But I would say that if you're conscious, you can say goodbye to karma. If you're living subconscious, don't say goodbye just yet, because it's not leaving you until you become more conscious.
So would it be fair to say that karma is somewhat of an underlying principle or a mechanism of creation?
Definitely. I definitely think we came here to learn through cause and effect. And although we're pretty thick, us humans, we're slow on the uptake. You know, if you keep juggling with bricks and every now and again one hits you on the head, you realize, okay, I'll juggle with tennis balls because the karma's better. And so you do learn not to juggle with half bricks. And this is how it is a growing tool, just the same as well, I completely forgot the word. So it's a tool for growth. Absolutely a tool for growth for a conscious being. I mean, animals learn really fast.
Do animals, does karma apply to all types of beings?
Sorry?
Does karma apply to all kinds of beings, animals, plants, humans?
No, I think only the more stupid varieties. Okay, no, I don't think animals are going to put the association. Yes, dogs and monkeys, and many of them are smart, and they've run so many experiments and tests. But that's still, again, you have to call it cause and effect, and they pretty quickly learn. We seem to be the ones that don't learn. I mean, how many times do politicians teach us that they lie? And how many times have we vote them back in?
Right. I mean, so far we've spoken about quite down-to-earth practical examples and scenarios of karma. But what about the more, let's say, metaphysical ones, the more spiritual aspects of karma, like, let's say, from incarnation to another incarnation, involving death and killing, or involving, you know, larger lessons that may play out over several lifetimes? What's your take on this? Yeah,
there's no question about it. It's difficult to define where lessons called karma change. You know, to me, one of the great growing lessons is cause and effect. And karma for me is a pretty word that tries to alleviate a little bit out of cause and effect. Cause and effect hits you smack in the face. Okay, I caused it, I got the effect. And karma says, oh, it's like, it's a bit like, it's better. I was sending out copies of my book From Illusion to Enlightenment, and I said you should have one in the car, and then you'll have less karma. And if you give one to the dog, there'll be less dogma. And if you give to the one to the cat, it's like a catatonic.
That's another spiritual truth just there, right there.
If you give one to your parrot, he'll keep repeating truth for you. So, okay, get serious, Michael. And so, yes, on a spiritual level and through incarnations, we carry cause and effect until finally we learn. I won't do that anymore because it doesn't work.
So do
one of the big ones today, one of the big karmic lessons we're still learning is emotional attachments.
Right.
That is a huge karmic one, and we're not close to learning. Most people aren't.
So could we say that we carry karma in forms of energy or certain condensed forms of energy that we carry around in our energetic bodies from life to life until it's dissolved, or how?
I think it's like a minor disturbance in consciousness. I remember Maya Baba, when he was living right near where I am, he said to some of his friends once, in about 2 weeks, I will break my arm. I think it was arm. And they said, why? He said, it's karma. And I could avoid it, but it's going to catch up with me. So we'll fix it. We'll do it in about 2 weeks. And they thought that was crazy. And he said, no, it's a price I have to pay. And it's okay. And 2 weeks later, he broke his arm. And you could have said it was accidentally. And yet he told them then. But basically, he said the fact was, it needed to happen because it would balance the books, as it were, brings everything into balance. And so karma is often a balancing of discord that we have expressed into other people, into other situations, where we were not a help at all and were probably a hindrance, and went away and thought we were fairly clever. And so that puts out something that is a disturbance in your consciousness, and therefore it's a disturbance in the human consciousness. And as you become finer and finer in consciousness, so the little karmas have to be paid back. I've done several things to myself, which I looked at very carefully, and I realized this comes from somewhere in the past. Something that I did was out of balance, and now it was time to pay it, and I paid the price. And I mean, for instance, looking at, and you've heard this story, looking at the elderly people and judging them because they were sick. Yes, I was right. All the reasons I was right, but I made a judgment. So I get the stinging tree and I go into hospital and have to go through the thing and realize, oh my God, as I watch them, this is what the stinging tree was about. It's my karma for judging them. And so I quit judging. And so karma, if you don't pay too high a price, my father used to say, bought wit is the best if you don't pay too high a price. And in a way, karma is experience, is understanding, is a lesson you paid for. Just hope you didn't pay too high a price so that it takes your life.
Ultimately, when I think about it and when I look into what karma means for me, I feel like it's also it feels like a layer of protection that is between the supreme creation state of unconditional love and truth and all the mess that we create. So because we are so immature and we're so foolish in all the things we do and we create all the time, emotionally, mentally, that if we were to be transplanted into an environment where just by thought we could harm somebody, that wouldn't work. So we have this thick layer of experiencing karma as a layer of protection between, that's how I often feel about it. Do you think there is some truth to that?
I think there are areas of truth. I don't think our karma is going to really affect supreme creation.
No, not affect, but
I do think that as I've often said, if I was to name God, I would definitely say the endless song of infinite balance. And any karma we have moved out of balance. It might even be a humorous remark to somebody, but it hurt them.
right.
So for us, for me, it was harm. For them, it was humor. For them, it was hurtful. Basically, because it was a careless throwaway remark, then I will probably have to experience the karma of that remark. And that happens in enormous amount to a lot of people. And it's dismissed, oh, that was an accident.
And we do this all the time, yeah.
We do this all the time. Sometimes, humor can be a little bit cutting and a little bit hurtful. I can be guilty of that. And I know that people have done it to me over the years.
Same here.
Today, I'm not so sensitive to that, but once I was extremely sensitive to that. And one of the lessons you have to learn in growing up is don't take everything so personal.
Right.
Because as Carolyn was saying, there's no difference between giving offense and receiving offense. And so if you don't receive offense, then the offender doesn't get karma. And so it's an interesting equation because karma is a two-way thing. And mostly the person to whom you owe karma sort of have forgotten all about it and knows nothing. I remember Carolyn, when she was single with Chucky, she had left her husband because he was an alcoholic, and she had about 7 years with Chucky, her son, growing up. And he had a pillow that he really loved, and she lost it. And all her life, she felt bad about that.
He never cared.
About a year or two before he died, she said to him, look, I want to tell you how bad I feel about that pillow. And he looked like, what pillow? She said, the pillow I lost. What pillow you lost? The pillow that was your favorite. He said, Ma, I don't know what you're talking about. And so she said, my God, I've carried that for 40 years, I've sort of carried that. And he didn't even know it happened.
Yeah.
And so we do make burdens, we sort of make karma where there isn't any, by making ourselves guilty about something that the other person has no idea about.
But would that be karma though? I wouldn't consider that karma.
No, probably not. But if you're really beginning to dissect it, no, it's not karma at all, but it could be mistaken for it.
Right, okay. Would maybe another form...
It's like money, worry. Worry is interest paid on troubles not yet due. So in a way, if you're worrying about a lack of money, you're paying a karmic debt, which has become a habit, and the karmic debt will keep you in karmic debt. And so you'll always have not enough money, so you maintain the status quo.
Yep.
Not a good idea.
Would another form or another way to describe karma possibly be that it's the process that regulates any violation of spiritual truths? I
don't. I think it would be like a principle that I don't like the word violates too much, but let's say a lack of spiritual integrity is an invitation for Mr. Karma or Mrs. Karma to probably come and visit. To
rebalance everything. So it's all about balance, right? So karma is basically we could say that karma is the engine that regulates balance in us.
You could say that it does. It's an engine that takes us towards balance by having to redress the issues that we consider nothing at all.
Okay, so that leads me to the next question. Let's speak about your fifth dimensional reality and karma. What role does karma play where you come from? And
basically probably zero. because when you reach a certain stage of consciousness, you treat everyone as if they were you. And you've also got past the self-attack stage, otherwise you're not in the fifth dimension. So you've got to realize that in the fifth dimension and other humans that are spread throughout the galaxy, basically inside them, there is calmness, there is serenity, there is a peace, and to a great degree, a silence. And there is self-love. We are a kindergarten classroom, and we've been treated badly by the headmaster.
So the further one goes in spiritual development and the higher the frequency, the less karma is working.
Like we do movies that create the idea that there are evil aliens out there. Like take Alien, 1, 2, and 3 movies. I mean, they give you nightmares.
Yeah.
And then Predator and all those. I don't watch them. I've never watched Alien. Just seeing a trailer, that was quite enough for me. But the truth is, the aliens out there simply express themselves. And so our idea of great evil is basically confined to our planet. You know, we have evil, but we are the creators of evil. And so we have evil. There are most species would have no idea if you said to them, what is evil? They'd say, well, you tell us, what is this word? What does it mean?
Do you have that polarity in your fifth world reality?
So let me just say this.
Yeah.
Would you say a lion is evil for killing its prey?
No, I wouldn't, but I think
exactly, that's what a lion does.
Yeah.
But evil is, like in nature, there is nothing called malicious. There is violence, but there is no malicious. In humans, there is violence and malicious. We created a whole new grade of violence that comes from evil intent, and that is called malicious. Now, that is not out there in anything that has a higher frequency than us. And that keeps our frequency down. And this is why in this Third World War, the only way through is love. And so loving yourself takes you away, steadily on a journey away from karma, loving yourself. Criticizing yourself, judging yourself, I could do better. You're on the track, on the karmic path, for as long as you do that.
So a simple way to put it would be love ends karma.
Love basically ends karma. Loving yourself, loving other people, treating them and talking to them and acting as though you love them. It's an act unless you're loving yourself. But consciousness doesn't know the difference between an emotion that is faked and an emotion that is real. It only knows that that emotion's there. Love, now that's a whole different thing, because love is a higher state of consciousness and you can't fake it. You can fake it to a person and they'll believe it, but you can't fake it to consciousness.
I have met people who said that they can dissolve karma. And also I have read a great account of, say, Indian saints, for example, who for their disciples, sometimes, they would have sessions where they say, okay, I'll relieve that karma. How would that work? That would be just some type of energetic healing, I guess, right? So it's like...
I would say, unless the guru is very, very high in consciousness, he should go and visit a psychiatrist.
Yeah, but
let's say but there definitely are human beings who could take on other people's karma, take it into the purity of their state of consciousness and erase it. And the more I go into the fifth chamber and bring in the Holy Trinity into the fifth chamber, the more I'm realizing, and I mean this very powerfully, the more I'm realizing that that raises your consciousness just doing that, the more I'm realizing there is no limit, even in our three-dimensional reality, there is no limit to how far you can take that, even if it takes you into the fifth dimension, because you've gone past, you've ascended. Because Pan told me that is the seed of ascension. And I absolutely can see this now. The more I go in there, the more I'm aware of it.
And the seed of ascension would be also the end of, or the portal towards the end of karma, right?
Yes, and we have to grow the seed in us. It's interesting, Greg Braden has done that, decoded the DNA, and that what he's done, it's the same thing. It's coming back to exactly the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
You know, I got there, I found that Holy Trinity, and he's found it a different way, but through the DNA code.
We have 4 more minutes. As always, maybe we dedicate this to what you can do to improve your karmic situation.
I would then suggest that you have a good look at yourself, observe yourself, spend a few hours in contemplation of yourself with absolutely no judgment and no criticism. You've got to put them aside. So if you could look at yourself and say, okay, do I have a streak of envy? Well, no, I really don't. Am I jealous at all? No, I'm really not jealous. And go through all the the negatives. Do I get angry? Well, yes, I get angry. And am I aware that I'm angry? Well, I'm aware a bit too late. And so when I'm angry, am I creating karma? Almost certainly, yes. You really can't get anger and be in balance. And so that's taking you out of balance. And it might be such a minor thing. One day, that balance is saying, okay, we're time to redress that and time to redress this. So the more you can come into the moment, the more you can create a relationship with yourself based in love, then that means your relationship with everybody else is based in love. You don't have to turn it on, because if it's loving yourself, that you're loving other people. This is why I say online at the end of exercise and that, I love you. I do, because I'm speaking to myself. I love you. I love me. I love. And love does not define you, you, and you. Love loves. And so when you keep moving toward that state, I would say every day, go into the 5th chamber, bring with you the sun out the 12th chakra, the pineal or the 3rd eye, bring it in there, whatever symbolism you like to use for that, bring it into the 5th chamber and just spend 10 minutes sending the energy right through your whole body, including your brain and the mind. The mind. And as you do that, breathe consciously, because conscious breathing is the connection between thought and emotions and actual healing. If you're doing, you can't do any healing subconsciously. It just doesn't work. So you've got to be conscious to heal. Now, you might be aware of that when you're healing, if you're a healer with other people, but so many people get into a pattern of like affirmations and go through about 100 affirmations because they've learned them off by heart. You might as well sit down and eat a dandelion. It'll do you a lot more good. And so anything that's done subconsciously is nothing to do with growth or consciousness or karma, taking you away from karma or love. You have to come back to being conscious. And then, if you're consciously breathing while you're consciously doing this, then you're making the electromagnetic connection between breath and heart and holistic body. And it's all about being conscious. That's the pathway out of karma. And like I said earlier, it's karma without karma.
Let's end it on this note. Thank you, Michael, for this session.
Thank you, Sascha, for the great questions.
And thank you all.
Thank you to the listener for listening.
Yes, thank you all viewers and listeners. Great to have you on board, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, or subscribe to the podcast, share it with others, And if you want to know more about Michael, go to michaelrhodes.online.
Let's see if we can grow all this.
Yes.